Welcome everybody to another installment of the Inspired Teacher. Today I would like to share a little bit of the knowledge and wisdom experience we can get from the Taiji Classics. I learned the classics from Master Liang. There was very few classes that he didn't reference the classics or pull a lesson out or answer one of your questions from the classics. Same with all my teachers, ending with Grandmaster Weiland Choi, another one of those teachers that really had a firm grasp of the classics and were able to pull lessons out that you could apply to your practice and then also give you ideas of how to study the classics. Before I start, I just want to thank you all for your subscriptions and your comments. Please feel free to share this, and I really do appreciate the time and energy you've all been giving towards my YouTube channel. So the classic I'd like to talk today about is, it's from the Taiji Chuan Classic, the Chang San-feng Classic. It's the third verse or the third idea, which says, there should be neither deficiency nor excess, neither hollows nor projections, neither severance nor splice. The very simple one that Master Liang gave for those, he gave it for the solo form. Deficiency and excess had to do with the plumb line or your spine. So deficiency meant to be leaning back a little bit, to be behind that plumb line, maybe to be a little bit too hollow or too collapsed. He called that deficient. If you leaned forward, if you were far forward of the plumb line, the center line, he would call that, to be excessive or extension, too extended. So he would call that that's the excess, excessive. So deficiency and excess had to do with the spine or the plumb line. Hollows and projections, that had to do with the arms. Hollow was when the arms were too close to your body. They were collapsed. And projections is when they were too straight. So if you had kind of a collapsed, weak posture, that meant it was hollow. And if you had like a projected, it meant it was too tense. And then neither severance nor splice. So sever meant to stop in the middle of a posture. When you stop in the middle, you cut it, you cut the energy, and you basically sever that posture into two. So that would be something like stopping too long on the backward part of push. So if you went back and you waited too long and then went, that would be two postures. It would be a back posture and a front posture. So without severing, you want to make sure that you, from the beginning, middle, and end of a posture, you never stop. And then splice was when you didn't define the end of a posture. You didn't give it its full value, its fulfillment. And so that's why you'll see sometimes if we make that mistake a lot and we kind of just splice postures together, when you ask someone to take a look at the end of a posture, sometimes they can't quite define it. So for instance, so here's the end of press, and here's the beginning of push. But if I'm used to these kind of like run-on sentences, I don't know where's the end of press and where's the beginning of push. If I don't have that exact definition, just a tiny pause, definition, and then I go on. If I just go on, then it all becomes. It's not the flow that we're looking at for the form. It's actually just kind of it's like sentences without any punctuation. So if I'm going really slow, it would be like putting a period at the end of every word. I would give a really full, defined, almost to the end of my momentum stop, I'll call it, or pause. If I'm going at a medium pace, it's kind of like a comma. So severance and splice really had to do with the middle of a posture. You didn't want to sever it in the middle. And splice, you wanted to make sure that you have some kind of definition in between two different postures. There are many other ways to look at this classic. Deficiency and excess. So if we look at different styles of Taiji and also different styles of Yang style, whether it's big frame, small frame, medium frame, like in the Master Liang, Professor Zheng lineage, they like the head right over the hips. So deficiency would be to have your head behind your hips, and excess would be to have your head forward of your hips. And you're going to find that true. That's true in the Sun style and the Hao style. Definitely the smaller frame, higher stance styles. They really like that plumb spine, which is super good for health and really good for meditation. Once you start to get some depth, you do need to lean forward a little bit to have some structure, especially a more martial style of Taiji. So deficiency and excess, it can mean that depending on your style. What are you doing with your spine? So Master Choi has a really simple one. When you're forward, you want your head over your foot, and when you're backward, you want your head over your foot. So for him, deficient would be if your head was past your foot in the back, and excess would be as if your head is past your foot in the front. Deficiency and excess, there's lots of places. So for instance, excess is when your front knee passes your front toe. You'll have no structure. It's easy for someone to pull you, and it can give you tendonitis. If you constantly do that, especially if you have a lower stance and you have excess, you exceed that base of your foot. So that's why they say the front knee should not pass the front toe. When we go back, you want to make sure that your hip doesn't pass your back heel. That is deficient. So sometimes we shift back. If I go so far back, not only is that bad for my alignment, it's going to give me a little bit of a backache if I keep doing it. It's really easy for somebody to push me or shut me in. Excess with the elbow is when your elbows pass your knee. So if I always have my elbow past my knee, that's too far forward. Sometime like in a pushing posture, not a chambered posture, not a posture that I'm on purpose putting my hand back, but a posture where I'm bringing my arms back. Deficient is when my elbows pass my body. So when you're going back, you want your rear hip to not pass your rear heel, and you want your elbows not to pass your body, your trunk. And then when you go forward, you want your front knee not to go past your front toe, and you want your elbows not to go past your knee. That'll keep your structure, it'll keep your balance, good for relaxation, and it's a good posture if you're going to push a refrigerator off a cliff. Hollows and projections. We can apply, deficiency and excess, hollows and projections. We can apply that to our energy body. So deficient means I'm too soft. I'm collapsed. It's a collapsed position. On a scale of 0 to 10, relaxation is in a 1, 2, or 3. 0 is it's too soft. It's collapsed. It's like a dead snake. So I want to make sure that I'm not deficient in my body, my energy. Excess is when I'm tense. So say for instance, it only takes about a 1 or a 2 of energy to form my hand position, whether it's the hook, the fist, or the palm. I don't need to do a 10 to make a fist. If I do use a 5 to make a fist, that's excess, that's tension. Depending on body part and depending on how difficult the posture is, I might need more energy. So if I'm using more energy than the posture requires, that's excess. And if I'm using less energy, that's deficient. So that could be my body as a whole. Hollows and projections, that can be where one part might be too soft, too collapsed, and another part might be too hard or too rigid. So, if I'm scanning my body, the hollow parts don't have enough energy. They're not full of energy. And the ones that are projected, it's too much. So my job is to even that out. A good place to do that is your standing meditation. Basically have the same sensation in all parts. I wouldn't want my hands to be totally collapsed and then my lower back to be tight. I want everything to be like the same amount of energy everywhere. And then severance, splice, that can refer to how I use my power, my energy, my momentum, and my swing. I don't want to move so much motion that momentum is built and then I can't control it. And I don't want to go so slow or stop so that my momentum is gone. So this severance splice is, how do I use just the right amount of energy to finish, and then just before that momentum is gone, I'm going to catch onto it and let it begin my next posture. Right up to the end, and then catch it and let that start the next one. Deficiency and excess can also be in your pushing hands or martial arts. So deficient means I'm not doing the right amount of defense. I'm deficient. It's not working. Excess means I'm using too much energy. I'm over neutralizing. Somebody puts a feather on my shoulder, and I shift back, I turn, I bend, I use all of my motions to neutralize it when it's just a tiny movement. Like Master Choi would always say, don't overblock and don't underblock. If you underblock, you get hit with the first punch. If you overblock, you get hit with the second punch. So you can apply that to pushing hands. If you under neutralize, you get pushed with the first push. If you over neutralize, you get pushed with the second push. Hollows and projections, that can also mean your structure too. Do I have the right amount of defense, the right amount of distance, especially like in sticky hands or pushing hands? Do I have the right amount where if that person suddenly pushes or suddenly punches, I can deal with it? Or do I not have enough room or space? Or is there too much room and space? Too much room and space, that makes me have a lot of openings. And then severance and splice. Sever means I broke apart from my opponent, my partner. If I can't feel you, I can't use my sense of touch to detect you. If I've separated from you, I can't pick up those signals, whether you're going to, advance or retreat, attack, whatever you're going to do. So I don't want to sever from you. I want to get connected with you. Splice it's a really good idea when you start thinking about splice, meaning in pushing hands that two people push at the exact same time. We see this a lot. You see it a lot when people are competing. They push at the exact same time. If I push before you, that's like listening energy. Intercepting energy. If I push just after you, that's like receiving energy or withdraw attack energy. So it's okay. I can go a little bit before you and push. Your push is just starting, I go. Or your push is on me, I wait a little bit, I absorb it a little bit, and then I go. But what I don't want to do is push at the exact same time with the exact same energy as you, because that will splice that together, and I can't feel anything. There's nothing going on. And then also we get to that whoever's stronger wins, and all those physical things. So if we look at this classic, it can really help us, especially doing the solo form, doing your energy work and doing your pushing hands. Neither deficiency nor excess. So think of the whole body back or forward. Hollows are projections. That's mostly to do with the size of the circles in your arms. Severance, splice, that's your timing. Either the timing within your posture or two postures, or the timing with your partner or opponent. I'll leave a link in the description to a couple different books that have translations and commentaries on classics. There's many to be found. You want to find the one that makes the most sense to you. I don't speak very much Chinese. I have a very limited understanding of Chinese as a language, but I have a lot of experience of being a human, and I have a lot of experience in my body. So when I look at these classics, and I've had different teachers explain them to me, and I read them, I always check in with my body and try to feel. If it makes me feel rooted and relaxed, and I can get my power to come out, it doesn't bother my breathing, it's usually good. And then if it affects one of those, then I want to figure out, is the classic wrong? Is the classic been mistranslated, or am I interpreting it wrong? So, many masters said that the final authority of Taiji is the classics. Does your Taiji conform to the classics? Well, I would add just a little bit to that, which is, if we look at the yin-yang symbol, you got the fish. Just say it's the black fish with a white dot. If the black fish is the classics, and that's the part that we have to conform to, you got to remember there's a white dot, and that is your own body. And your final authority at the end is your body, about comfort and about health and about progress. So with that, I'll leave you with that. Please leave some comments. You got any questions? Leave those in the comments section. Hit like, the bell, the whole deal. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll check out my other videos, lessons, podcasts, and I'm going to do a few more on the classics. So until then, practice, and I hope you have such a lovely place to practice outside.